Summer routines live or die by how easy they are. And honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Groons is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Groons.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
Hi, everybody. This is Dawn Mitchell, and welcome to Dawn of Sports. Today, we have an awesome guest. We're going to be doubling up the estrogen here in the studio, and I love it. Marielle Mohs from CCO TV. She's in their sports department. I'm loving getting more women on the sports coverage here in this town, and she's got a great background. Lots of news, lots of dance, and lots of energy. I love that. So you're going to hear a great conversation, but we're going to include her in all of our sports talk today. So buckle up. We call her Elle, and she's going to be amazing.
Yes, welcome back to Dawn of Sports, starring, Dawn Mitchell from Fox 9. Dawn, I'm just going to let you introduce our special guest, actually in studio here.
Yeah, I'm really excited, too, because I wanted to have her on for a long time. Now she's in sports, and I feel like every woman that I can pluck over to the sports side, Jim, I feel like I have another sister along. So Marielle Mohs from CCO TV, and you've seen her a lot out and about doing some news as well, but has recently, just the past year, right, have been into the sports department and have been kicking butt. I just want to congratulate you first on that. And we know each other away from professional stuff, so to see you make that transition for me has been really cool to kind of just step back and be an observer of it, Elle. Her nickname is Elle, by the way, so if I refer to her as that. So thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been exactly 1 year. July was my 1 year sports anniversary. And yeah, I thank you so much because you knew about it before it was announced. And from the beginning, you've always just said, like, I got you. And it's just comforting to see you in press boxes. I wish I saw more of you in press boxes, but yeah, it's just comforting to see you there and know, like, I have my support system along the way as I'm learning.
Yeah, when you're in the press box, I'm in the studio, or you're at the Twins and I'm at the Vikings training camp. So we haven't passed that much, but we will. Now that you're more fully entrenched, you will. And then you'll get to know the craziness, like, oh, I'm anchoring today. I won't be able to see you out there. So, Jim, what you like also, because you're such a strong supporter of women in sports, when you see a fresh face come along, part of me also says, oh, she'll learn too, like I'm hoping there's not that many pitfalls in the learning process of more the invisible rules that go on in sports.
Well,
right?
I mean, things have gotten a lot better. And I think that's probably a great topic of conversation to really get the show rolling. Before we do that, do you want to take care of some, furniture, as we call it in the business? This is Dawn of Sports. This is part of TalkNorth.com. You know this deal. We have the best sports lineup in town: Russo, Krasinski, Diamond, Millay. We're adding Randy Shaver shows now. We have the John Krasinski show on the Timberwolves, Mike Grimm on Gophers, Kevin Gorg on everything. Check it out. If you find a show you like at the network, please subscribe to your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's the easiest way to listen. It does us a lot of good. This show in particular is sponsored by another great supporter of women's sports, Rudy Luther Toyota. And we're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. And to kick off this portion of the conversation, sometimes what we do with our guests is you and I talk about sports, then we have our guest on later. Obviously,
yes.
Elle can talk about all this, so we'll all just join in.
Yeah, you're roped in. Is that okay, Elle?
But I would say that, I was an old school white male sports reporter. I covered the NFL and baseball extensively when I was young, and there just weren't many women around. Mm-hmm. And what I will tell you is the more women we have in press boxes, in press conferences, in the business, the better and more comfortable I feel, because too many white guys sitting around by themselves get away with way too much BS. Women class up the joint, and we need that.
I knew you way back when, though.
Yeah, well,
right.
you and I happened. Here's the funny thing, Elle. Dawn and I met when I was a Twins beat writer. She was in Boston, and the Twins were in town, and like all the Twins people I knew ended up going out to a bar after a day game, and there's Dawn. And
Shocking.
That's where I met. Yeah, it's shocking we found Dawn in a bar.
I love that.
Shocking we met
Irrelevant.
out social, but yes. No, but that was, yes.
That's cool.
And then
You're
we met again because then you had to remind me. So the path that you're on is going to be super cool because then you meet someone else. Then you, for some reason, were covering the Packers.
Well, I was a Vikings beat writer for a long time. Then I became kind of a feature writer and kind of the person they sent on special assignments. So I would go spend like all week in Packerland to preview Viking Packer games.
So then I was not in Boston. I was in Milwaukee, and it was either a game or a training camp. And I was like, hey. So to get here and to see Jim here, it was Jim and Pat Borsey, who is Rachel Blount's husband, who I knew because I said, hey, I'm moving to Minnesota. I don't know anybody. And Pat was like, you know me. And then when I saw Jim, I was like, okay, no, 2 people. I'm good.
I love it. I didn't know you guys went back that far before, like you met before Minnesota.
Yeah.
But it just proves how small this business is.
It is.
Like you can throw a dart anywhere in the country and you know a journalist there.
That's actually one of the things I love. I mean, our business has its problems. One of the things I love about this business, I travel a lot, both professionally and personally. Every town I go to, I know somebody. I have a friend someplace.
Same.
Did you know someone in Santorini, Greece when you were out there?
Now I have friends in Santorini, but I didn't when I went there. No, that was unique. Although, I won't go too far on this tangent, but it's amazing how everybody we dealt with in Italy and Greece speaks perfect English.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Well, I was at the tippity top of Cortona, Italy. It's on this mountain. It's where Under the Tuscan Sun was filmed.
Oh my gosh, that's my favorite book.
And I turn around and it's Paul Douglas. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Did he give you a weather forecast?
Yeah. He was like, I can tell you this, it's wet. And he had a glass of wine or something. So it was, I'm like, wow, here I am,
That's
like
so
in
funny.
this
That's
remote corner of
wild.
the world. And there he is with his wife, and he was on vacation. So
I
that's
studied
kinda
abroad in London with one of my friends who I met here in
love
high
London.
school. And we went to Munich for Oktoberfest. And we're sitting in this little cafe. We were kind of just lost in the city. And we're just like, this looks nice. Let's sit here. And we're having this great dinner. And this couple next to us says, you guys speak perfect English. Like, you must be from the US. And we're like, yeah, where are you from? And they're like, we're from Minnesota. And we're like, oh my gosh, same. And then we're like, we're in Minnesota. And the couple says, we live in Maple Grove. My friend's from Maple Grove. Turns out they're in the same cul-de-sac.
That's hilarious.
I'm like, we're in a random town in Europe, the smallest cafe, hole in the wall, and here we are next to one of your neighbors from Maple Grove.
That's
Another
fantastic.
crazy, this last time I was and I was kind of in a bubble, and kind of, you can say this, Jim, when you're traveling. I was in a bubble because I went to France for almost, it's like 2.5 weeks. It's the longest I've ever been away from work. And so now I'm in the airport in Paris getting ready to take my flight home. And I'm not even at the gate or anything. So it's not like, the flight going to Minnesota or wherever it was connecting through. And all of a sudden, I'm just getting my little cafe, and I'm by they have Chanel shops in the Paris airport, right? And all of a sudden, I'm like, meat sauce? And I'm like, you don't want to yell meat sauce across the airport in Paris.
In Europe, we call
right?
them bolognese.
Right, there you go.
And I was like, no, that can't be him. What? And so I went, Paul? And he looked at me, and like we both had been in our little travel, bubble. And he looks at me, he goes, and he squints his eyes. He goes, Dawn? And we're like, oh my God, it took us a second. So then he and his wife, we all had our little cafe au laits or whatever we did. And then it's like, all right, we'll go to the gate together. But it was like my brain kind of melted. So, when you're kind of in a different thing. So
I had a weird one. My wife and I were vacationing in Cabo, and somebody recommended a seafood restaurant. Oh, seafood restaurant makes it sound really fancy. It was like in the middle of an almost torn down city block in Cabo. It was basically a tarp. And we're like, are we going to eat here? We walk in, and we're like, God, where do they get their fish? Is this going to be safe? And as we're talking, pickup truck pulls up to the front door, if it had a door, and they grab a marlin they just pulled out of the marina like 2 blocks away, and they walk it through the back. We're like, okay, we'll have marlin.
Oh, yeah.
But the funny thing is, and we're sitting there eating, and we look up, and there's a Minnesota Wild poster on the back tarp it's been signed by like every Minnesota who's come through.
Stop.
That's so cool.
You were meant to be there. That's how I take those signs.
For sure.
Yeah.
I
For
was
sure.
meant to be here at this given moment.
All right, we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to get into all kinds of stuff. I want to talk about the Olympics, Twins, Vikings, everything else. But let's go ahead and just thank Rudy Luther Toyota for supporting this show, for supporting other shows on the network, and for being such a great supporter of women's sports.
Ready for a women-forward car dealership? Rudy Luther Toyota empowers their many women on staff in sales, management, and service. Whether you are looking for a new Toyota or pre-owned vehicle, Rudy Luther Toyota has something for everyone. Every vehicle comes with a Luther Advantage. 10 cents off fuel and car wash discounts at holiday stations, Luther Advantage warranty, and 5-day return policy on pre-owned vehicles. Located just 5 minutes west of downtown Minneapolis, off 394 and General Mills Boulevard. And they're also hiring. Want to join the team but don't know where to start? Visit rudyluthertoyota.com today.
When people think of the Freemasons, they often think of secret handshakes and unusual hats, and of course, the pancake breakfast. Minnesota Masonic Charities would prefer that you think about the work that they do right here in our community. Places like the Masonic Cancer Center at the University of Minnesota, or the Masonic Children's Hospital and the Masonic Home in Bloomington. They are just a few examples of the important work that the Freemasons support here in Minnesota. As part of the largest fraternal organization in the world, Masons have consistently answered the call when it comes to charitable needs. I am happy that Minnesota Masonic Charities has chosen Minnesota Bound and this podcast as a place to help spread the word. We look forward to learning so much more about their many programs here in the weeks to come.
And once again, we're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. Also, personal note for Dawn and myself. My band played at Glick's last December to celebrate Dawn's birthday and the birthday of Jerry Holt, one of my favorite human beings, a great photographer at the Star Tribune. And it went so well, we're having a fake birthday celebration this Friday, August 9th. Oh, that's right. By the time you hear this, it's probably over with. So never mind.
We had a blast.
We had a blast. That's
It
what I'm
was
saying.
so
We had a
fun.
blast, and you missed it, and I'm sorry you missed it. All right, let's move on. We're recording this ahead of time, so we won't have all the Olympic results. But let's talk about what it was like for us to be here and watch what Suni Lee did, what the other women's gymnastics stars did, what Reagan Smith did. Elle, what was it like for you?
It's just so incredible to see Minnesotans not only represented on the Olympic team, but dominating. It just proves, like, truly, like, if you see it, you can be it. And so many young people get to watch these athletes that are from their home pools, their home gyms, on the world stage getting gold repetitively over and over. And it's just incredible to see. It's emotional. I cry every time during the medaling of it all. But so yesterday, actually, I know it'll be dated, but yesterday on Sunday, I went to Suni's statue in Phelan Regional Park. And we were like, I wonder if there's just going to be any people stopping by. You know, she just got the bronze in the uneven bars, so maybe there's going to be some people. We get there, and this family walks up with Eiffel Tower T-shirts on. And we're like, okay, gold. And we talked to them, and they're like, yeah, we're from Nashville, Tennessee, and we're Hmong Americans, and we're huge Suni fans. We're in town for a wedding, and we made sure we had this statue visit on our list. And they had their little kids with them, and they said that their son was born during the 2021 Olympics. He was a preemie, and they were stuck in the hospital for weeks. And Suni's performance and watching her got them through, like, really difficult days.
Oh, I just got chills.
Right? Like, those are the moments that Suni brings us, the joy she gives us, and for these families to come cross country to Minnesota just to be in Suni's hometown, it's really special.
You know, growing up, and I grew up in Massachusetts, and I think we're so proud of maybe the one athlete that might have made it to the Olympics. And I was sitting back, now that I've been here, finishing up my 20th year here in Minnesota.
Wow.
And I was, November 1st will be the start of my 21st year. It flies by.
Your 21st birthday, how are we celebrating?
Yeah, I started when I was 0.
My band will play a gig for her. That's the way we celebrate everything, you know?
But I did, when you can just step aside from yourself and be like, the amount of Minnesotans, like you said, not only participating in the Olympics, but medaling and standing out, I'm blown away. by my adopted state here by saying, wow, what is in the water here? Because it's amazing when you start thinking about it. And I'm including Ant in it because he's been adopted now too.
100%.
For his 26-point performance in that game. But what is it, Jim, about Minnesota that has so many athletes? It's incredible.
I do have a theory. And by the way, we are at the, not only we are at the Aquarius Home Service Studios, Alex Haugen is one of our newer producers doing a great job for us. Wanted to thank him for his work. I really think, I lived a lot of, I was an Air Force brat. I moved everywhere. I've been everywhere. And I think Minnesota is better than most places at youth sports, at having parks that everybody can go play in, at having, if you want to play hockey, there's going to be a rink. If you want to play basketball, there's going to be a gym open. I just think the vibe of this state is let's get our kids involved. Let's support them. Let's give them a chance. And, you never know which kid's going to be the next Suni Lee. You don't know which one is, and it's, bigger picture. I think it's, I coached a lot of youth sports. I coached my kids. I think youth sports are incredibly important for the kids who don't go on to play sports, just because it gives them, an experience of being in a team setting, having to gut through a sore ankle, having to share, having to be challenged. I think it's great in that way. But also, if you maximize the number of your kids who are in those programs, every once in a while, Suni Lee's going to pop out.
Right. I was just thinking about like Lindsey Vonn, Suni Lee, Reagan Smith, Lindsay Whalen, Natalie Darwitz.
Elise,
I'm like, wow.
Elise Willoughby, post, she didn't finish the way she wanted to, but she's been in 3 or 4 Olympics already. I mean, it's amazing when you look at the list of Minnesota participants, regardless of how they perform.
It gave me, I was like, wow. I had one of those blown away moments where, I think that person's from Minnesota. And then you just step back and you're like, wow, I want to see, California might be close, but I want to see like state for state who has as many medaling Olympians.
I would think California would have to be number one, just sheer size, population, also the opportunity to play any sport, depending on where you live in that state. You can ski in the day and swim at night. I mean, there's so many opportunities. But for a state this size, I think Minnesota punches well above its weight.
Yeah, I think your theory is really spot on there, Jim, with the youth sports and just accessibility. And I'm curious, because I know you're not from Minnesota originally, Don, and you're not either, Jim?
No, I moved here. I lived everywhere, moved a dozen times. I came here after working in Texas.
Okay. So I'm curious, what's the high school state tournament vibe of your hometown states? Because I felt like when I went to college and I was fresh off the heels of my state tournament experiences and I would tell my college friends about it, they were like, whoa, you guys sell out your NHL arena for boys hockey, like the dance team state tournament almost gets a half sellout. Like, it's just crazy that we will sell out our professional sports arenas for high school sports state tournaments. And I just don't know if that culture exists as much or as prominent in other states. And maybe that has something to do with just the encouragement, the hype around youth sports. I don't know.
I also think Minnesota's very, for better or worse, Minnesota's very provincial. If it's a Minnesota thing, people are going to buy in right away. Whereas I think other states, they're more splintered in terms of interest. I mean, I lived in Indiana briefly, and the Indiana high school basketball tournament is one of the biggest deals in the country. I covered high school sports in Texas. The Texas high school football is immense. I think Minnesota hockey, doing what they do, as you said, selling out the XL Energy Center, regardless of who's playing, I think that even tops both of those experiences.
Wow.
Yeah, in terms of, I would say Massachusetts, I always say the equivalent is the bean pot, but that's college.
Right.
So like the high school tournaments are big, but usually just big for the families and the athletes involved. It doesn't really draw outside interest. Where the bean pot might. So I find that to be, I was blown away by the high school tournament when I got here.
Okay.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that could play a role in because if that's what you grew up watching and going to, you're like, someday I want to play at the X when I'm a teenager.
Yeah, it's a great motivator for young players. And also, I know people who buy tickets way ahead of time before they have any idea who's going to play. They just want to be part of that experience. Whereas I feel like even as big as Texas high school football is, it's the high school fans who show up.
Right.
And they might all show up, but it's not your average football fan because they have other options. In Minnesota, I think they feel like hockey is their thing, and they're going to support it every way they possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Can I just give a shout out to two people who are not from Minnesota that on the Olympics I'm still loving?
Please. We don't do that.
Snoop Dogg. I would have thought that by this time I'd be over him. I'm not. I can't get enough of him. Like then they add Martha Stewart into the mix and the horses and the whole bit. I'm like, love it. And Katie Ledecky.
Oh my gosh.
When she's swimming one way and everyone else is going the other, just all those memes of how defeating is it that you train your whole life to be an Olympic athlete and Katie Ledecky is going the opposite way and I'm not going to win anything. She's incredible. So it's those moments that I think are embedded in my brain from this Olympics.
You know what I love is the idea. Here you have Snoop Dogg and Favorite Flav dancing around wearing, the gold chains and everything, but also wearing U.S. colors and getting into it. I'm just picturing all these rednecks just getting really angry at that. I'm actually loving it.
You're loving that. I just, the whole thing. And it's like, people are like, are you not sick of him yet? I'm like, I am not. I am. He could run for president and I'd vote for Snoop Dogg. 100%.
It's just nice to have like a variety of commentary. So you have like this professional sportscaster there giving the play-by-play. And then you just have the fun flavor of Snoop and Martha just adding, I don't know, sparkle. It's great.
There's only one thing, and I haven't listened to her podcast, and I'm not against podcasters, obviously, but I did, until I knew who was interviewing Simone and her husband, I was like, what kind of question was that? This is not a professional interview. I'm like, what? But it was a woman that does that very famous podcast, and I'm sorry, I can't remember her name.
Call Her Daddy?
Yes, and I like her.
Yeah.
But I didn't know, in that setting, I was like, who is it doing this interview? Because it wasn't like in our style that we do. And you're like, come on, girl. And I was like, what is going on? So then I saw her name and I go, oh, I know that face. I know that name. And I couldn't put it together. And so I had to Google it. And I was like, okay, all that, it makes sense now. They have an entertainment person doing this. But at first I was like, who is this reporter? And then I was like, oh yeah, I've listened to a cover podcast and I enjoy her very much. But sometimes when your brain doesn't put it together, you're just like, who, what?
Do you ever get a little annoyed sometimes that people who have zero background in sports can because they have a name in TikTok, they get these opportunities and it's just like, geez, what I would give to have that opportunity. And
I think I gave that up a long time. The answer is yes, but I think I, as a woman, have become okay with that because I have seen it so many times when they take an athlete who's never been on TV, and they actually have, I know, I'm not going to say the network, they used to have a charm school. That's what they called it, charm school, where they sent the athlete there to be trained to be on TV. So now I never would be a color commentator on baseball. I didn't play. I want to hear the professional athletes because that's the inside ball, no pun intended, that you want to hear. But for years, someone that could know the sport just as well and do the color commentary, you'd be like, well, they trained their whole life for it. But then I started thinking, well, so has this athlete, just in a different way. Mm-hmm. So you have to remember that TV, especially so, is an entertainment thing. So I get it. It does take away from it, but I'm enjoying, it made me pay attention to that interview. Who is interviewing Simone and her husband? The questions aren't bad, but it's more in a, different kind of style.
Well, Elle,
that's just
I'll
how it
follow
is.
up on this by saying it does make, if you look at it from the perspective of a journalist, it does make our job harder because people expect us to be hugging and and cheering and just, slapping on the back. And that's just not the job. It's not the job.
Right.
And it's like Simone Biles tweeted out something, or I can't remember what social media it was. She said, why are these people, these people need to stop asking what's next. And I'm like, okay, listen, we can't, Simone, you're not going to answer the phone if we call you next Monday and ask you what's next. This is our only chance to ask you questions like this. And it's not, congratulations. Of course, we understand the scope of your story and everybody's telling your story and about how great you are. But if you're a reporter, you have to ask some realistic questions. It can't just be, cheerleading.
Mm-hmm. Right. Has to be thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And you can honestly just say, I'm not sure. I'm going to let this sink in. All right, we've done our job and you've done yours
They
by
don't have
answering.
to answer it, but we do have to ask it.
Right, because a lot of people probably are wondering that.
Yes.
As much as you don't want to answer it, that's what's on the top of everyone's minds. Like, you've just had this huge comeback. Can you keep going? You've already defied odds as a 27-year-old. Keep going.
Yeah. You know what I would say? I'm done.
Same.
Finish on top.
You know the way to play it?
Yes.
Play it like Diana Taurasi. I was sitting there in front of 5 feet from her at the Tokyo Olympics.
Yeah, what'd
and
she
she comes
say?
in, and she and Sue Bird come in, and they did the first press conference before Dawn Staley got up there, and they're slamming champagne, and they're just, they're funny as hell, and they're joking, and they both say, "We are done. We are out. We're going to drink this damn champagne, and you're never going to see us again." And then Diane got to do all that, have the big farewell party, and then 2 years later she goes, "No, I'm going to play again."
Yeah.
That's perfect.
I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah, and then she'll get another farewell tour.
Right.
That's the way to play it. It's like every great rock band. Every tour is your farewell tour. Your last 12 tours are farewell tours.
It's like the going out of sale for rugs, right?
Yes, exactly.
There's always a shortage and they're going out of business, but then they're there for 10 years. So no offense to any of the rug people out there. I'm just saying.
I've always thought, though, and again, I'm so glad we got to have, as a Vikings, I'm glad the Vikings fandom got to have Brett Favre on their team for a while, but go out on a high note. Same with Tom Brady. Go out on a high note. I think there's so many people that refuse to go out on a high note, and they love the ego, the power, whatever, the status. I'm not saying those guys do, but
they do.
You see, okay.
Also,
you see it in politics too. Just go out on a high note.
This is the only where I disagree, only because I knew for me, when I graduated college, the hardest thing for me when I graduated was for the first time in my life since 2nd or 3rd grade, I did not have a team to go to. I didn't have practice. I didn't have a coach to report to. I didn't have teammates to help me accountable. I didn't have that structure, that schedule. That's hard. That's really hard. I feel bad for female athletes in general because that hits them a lot earlier because men always try to think that they can go pro or there's more men's leagues and this and that. Now it's getting better for women. But for me, that was a loss. I had to grieve that. So I can only think if you put that on such a different scale of someone who's played professional, someone who's a hero or called a GOAT or made millions of dollars and they love that crowd cheering, that it's got to be so much harder to not only give that up as the ego, it's that lifestyle. It's seeing your teammates every day. It's seeing your friends in the locker room. It's having that structure. It's what am I going to eat? I used to have the team had meals prepared for us. So I think sometimes where you see athletes retire and come back, it's because for their whole life they've had a certain way of life, and then now it's up to them. And that's when you see marriages sometimes fall apart, so it's just such a lifestyle change. So I do give grace
That's fair.
For that, because I'm I remember right out of college, I was like, what? It was a big hole in my life.
It's identity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and losing identity is really hard.
But it was also like a family, and you're not going to see these people, and you're so young and dumb, you don't know what you're going to miss until it's gone. In many ways, and this is no disrespect to some athletes, but they don't have to grow socially sometimes.
Oh, God, no.
That the rest of the world has to so quickly because things are taken care of that for them or this and that. And that's hard. Can you imagine learning the lessons that we learned in our early 20s that they're learning in their 30s sometimes or 40s? I don't know.
The conversation I've had with so many ex-athletes, some Vikings, but especially Twins, because I covered that team for a long time and I know the people well enough to have those kind of conversations. I would say 10% miss playing, 99% miss hanging out in the clubhouse.
Yes.
They miss being part of a team.
Yep.
Being in that bubble where, you have 25, 30 different people and everybody's from a different background. You're all finding a way to get along and you're cracking jokes on each other. You get to act like children, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You get that. You don't get to do that in real life.
No.
And you don't get paid a lot of money to do that in real life.
Right. And then all of a sudden it's like, I got to do what?
Yeah.
I have to do who? What is this? Now, some athletes that get it, that have had good mentors, or I want to drop my kids off at school. Now I want to do, I want to do the laundry.
Well, Michael Kyer is a perfect example of that. He's one of the most down-to-earth people I've ever met. Really good baseball player for a long time. And he married a teacher, and he coaches his kids' teams, and he does all these things. And he's kind of made the perfect He's down to earth enough, realistic enough to make a really easy transition to civilian life. And still, you talk to him, he says, "Man, I miss hanging out in the clubhouse."
You guys have totally changed my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, keep playing, boys. Keep it up.
That's how I would be. Like, I'd be until my leg fell off, or unless there's something else that they find that gives them a passion or something they like to do.
And they usually don't look for that until it's over.
Right.
Elle, let's hear more about you.
Yes.
How did you get into journalism, and why did you switch to sports?
Well, I have been in news for 11 years before switching to sports. I started way back in high school. I wrote for my high school newspaper. And this is funny. This is a very full circle moment. But I went to Benilde St. Margaret's in St. Louis Park. And I was a junior writer, and then senior year, you become an editor. And I was like, I want to be lifestyle editor for sure, because it's more pop culture-y. It's more just like interacting with my fellow students and just talking about trends. So I thought I'd be great at that. That was what I was gunning for. I didn't give a top 3. I just said, I just want lifestyle. And when they announced the editors, I did not get lifestyle, and I was given sports. And I, at first, was really taken aback, and I went up to my teacher, and I just said, "Why'd you give me sports? I didn't put that down as an option." And he said, "Well, you've written some sports stories. You're a student athlete yourself, and I see you at almost every game that I've gone to. So you clearly are a fan. You know it. You love it. I think you'd be really good. I think it'd be good to have your perspective on sports." And I ended up really enjoying it my senior year, and I went to games I wouldn't have gone to otherwise. I went to games alone, which was a really cool experience, because before it was always just kind of a social thing. And I just really enjoyed it. And I always kept that in the back of my mind, but didn't think it was actually what I was going to pursue. I just thought, let's just do general news. Let's just get in the business, get my foot in the door as fast as possible, and see where it goes from there. I ended up having some internships in college, majored in journalism, University of Denver. Don? I'm going to let you have a window here.
It's all right. I still love her, even though her hockey team beat my hockey team. That's just a little aside.
You're just such a big person.
I am.
You're dealing with it very well.
I am. I still adore her.
It was fun to have a little ribbing.
Yeah, a little.
The, hockey finals, Frozen Four. But so I went to DU and majored in journalism, had some TV internships there, and just fell in love with the adrenaline. And so I think that's why I pursued news. I was in Denver the summer of the Aurora movie theater shooting at the Batman Begins midnight premiere. And I was the only intern working that day. They sent me there. My job was to hold the reflector in front of the anchor, so they had like the perfect lighting. I was getting water bottles, ordering pizza, printing scripts. It was just that adrenaline rush of these victims literally coming out of the theater with blood on their shirts, talking to the anchors in real time. And as just traumatic as that was, I'm still scared. I still think about it every time I go into a movie theater, but it was just being able to be there on one of the most important stories of that time and telling everyone's individual story, hearing firsthand accounts. That was incredible to me, and I think that's what hooked me into news at the time. So yeah, I pursued news for a really long time, but for that exact same reason why I fell in love with it is kind of why I fell out of it, because you can only love the thrill of that adrenaline of crime, talking to people on the worst day of their life for so long. It eventually takes a beating. And I'm really open about it. I've been seeing a therapist since 2019, and I'm really big on mental health, and I've gone to different outlets, whether it's, I've tried, the church route. I went to church for a long time thinking I needed something to just like balance me out. I've worked out and I've tried different like forms of working out, like yoga and all that, just to balance out what I'm dealing with at work. And I was starting to work on leaving the business in, let's see, I'm trying to think what year now. 2023. Yeah, beginning of 2023, I was starting to apply outside the business, staying in Minnesota because this is my hometown, but I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I had been very frank with my news director at the time about how I was feeling. And she came to me in March of 2023 and said, there's going to be an opening in sports at WCCO soon, and I think you'd be a really good fit for it. And I was really shocked. It was the same moment I had in high school when I was given sports editor of the newspaper. And she just said, you've been telling sports stories for news this entire time at WCCO. It's the exact same thing. You're going to have to learn a lot more because there's a lot of sports you haven't dabbled in, you haven't sports anchored before, but at the same time, storytelling is the same no matter whether you're doing it for news or sports. And so just take everything you've been doing in news and apply it to athletes, coaches, fans, the game itself. And it's been the best transition for me. It's been life-saving. I feel like I have a whole new lease in journalism. And I've never been happier in this business.
And you know what I really love is when some people are thinking, well, it must be easy because she grew up here, she's a CCO, and they just moved her into sports. They forget that after Denver, you went to Little Rock, Arkansas, then you went to St. Louis, and then you got to CCO. You know, so I think some people nowadays, they think they can just graduate and get a job at WCCO on air and then move into the sports department. It's like, no. Like, news-wise, you've paid your dues. And I was really feeling right now, because I also know you covered the George Floyd. So I'm like, you've had two hugely, historically impactful, traumatic things to cover. And I always think of my news brethren and the photographers of what they see on a daily basis that never even makes it to TV. Right? Because we show up maybe a minute, right? A minute 15 tops. But it never leaves you. So I want to commend you because to not only say it, but to also work on it, there's this trauma that news reporters and photographers see on a daily basis. And especially Minnesota has had a lot. And then to come right out of the gate and see what you saw in Denver. And then I think it was meant to be, like you said, like when you're in high school, when someone goes, well, I think sports would be a good fit. Because it is, if you have the writing skills, if you know your sports, if you have the experience in the business, it's a nice transition. But I'm also glad that not only are you taking care of yourself professionally, but personally. Because that's you're one person. You have to be a whole person, right? So I just want to commend you on that.
Thank you. Yeah. And sports is still super hard work and grueling hours. And there are really traumatic days. I mean, Kyrie Jackson this year, that's not fun to report on. My first story in sports was when Adam Johnson died playing on the ice in England. I mean, it's not like you take the trauma fully away when you go to sports and it's easy breezy. But for me, it's definitely just more rewarding to tell these stories of triumph and resilience more regularly on a daily basis.
Well, I made a personal choice. I know when I was interning at WBZ in Boston, I said, you know what? Someone said you should be in news reporting. You have great writing skills and you can pick up. I'm like, I do not have it in me to knock on someone's door whose child was just killed. And no disrespect to I said I actually have more respect for news reporters, because I'm in those editorial meetings and I know what stories they're covering. And I'm almost like bowing down to them because I knew for me, I learned in college who I was. Like I also learned that I can't work with children who are terminally ill because I did an internship at Boston's Children's Hospital in a speech pathology department, but they were terminally ill. And I would just go home crying every day if one of the children didn't show back up. And so my mom said, well, this is now why you can appreciate doctors who can do that. But you know yourself you can't. So my mom had me start thinking introspectively, I'm like, yeah, I couldn't knock on someone's door whose child was just killed. So my mom said, well, then news is not for you. I'm like, okay, sports it is, that kind of thing. Or entertainment. It was going to be entertainment. So to know yourself well, is the key. And so, and yeah, sports is hard, you know. You have to go back to the well, you know, like you have to speak to the same athletes over and over again, where sometimes in news you don't, you know, unless it's a PIO or someone like that, you don't really go back, right? So you got to keep the athletes happy. Jim?
Not me. You have to keep the athletes
You
happy.
should see me. I'm looking
I
at
have to
him,
keep the athletes
smiling.
on edge. I want them nervous.
Not happy, but, you know, you have to be fair. But they could say, no, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And they have.
Yeah. And that's their right.
Right.
Actually, I get along with most athletes.
Yes,
most
you
of the
do.
time.
I
It's
just like to tease you.
But I will, you know, and our jobs are different too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Very different.
I'm an opinion writer. I'm an opinion and perspective writer. I'm supposed to tell people what I think, regardless of how anybody might react. And you're more. Here's the story. Here's the best interview I could get for it.
Yes.
And it's just a different format, different job.
Yes, I try to elicit their opinions, and you do
And
yours.
I tell them why they're wrong.
Yes, yeah. That's right. It keeps the balance. Well, Elle, let me ask you this. Since you've made that kind of transfer over, how has it been for you? And has there been any like biggest like wow moment, like good or bad?
Well, I will say my first year was me just getting lost in arenas. Like I took the wrong direction, the wrong turn. Like you come out of those doors on the ground floor in the bowels of US Bank and you have two options, right or left. I always took the wrong turn.
You always went left?
If you walk far enough around, it's correct.
Right. She just had to get her
Yeah,
steps
you just had
in.
to go, farther. That's all.
Oh my gosh. I made so many mistakes inside arenas and sweated a lot more than I wanted to on game days. I'm also constantly finding turf pellets in my shoes. That's been just a
Welcome
new
to the
normal.
business.
But I've just, it's been interesting. Like you think about just the basic sports, kind of like, football, baseball, hockey, and you forget sometimes about all the little sports, especially in prep. And so one of the biggest eye-openers for me was when I covered volleyball state for the first time. And I'm like, how do you score a volleyball game? I had to Google that. Tennis, I played tennis as a kid, but I forgot how it's scored as well. And so that's been interesting. And there's just all these little things. I mean, I played lacrosse in college, so that one was easy to kind of jump on that coverage in the spring. But it's been fun just to, I don't know, back to the schools that I used to play at or play against. Like going to the Eden Prairie football stadium was one of my first stories of the football season last year. And I'm like, man, I've been here as a fan when I was little. I've been here. I played lacrosse here. I don't know. It's cool to have all those memories come flowing back as I'm covering sports.
It's also hard to do it in your own hometown.
Yeah.
But you've had that experience of being on air as a news person. And but now to switch to sports and be able to do that, you get to see your old coaches, and everyone comes out of the woodwork, I'm sure, right?
Oh, for sure. Especially when I go to Benilde. Like, I covered Olivia Olson this past season. And when I showed up to the soccer stadium that day to cover her, all my old teachers came out that are still working there and we just want to come say hi. And I love it. It's exciting and it's really fun. But the emotions is hard. Like, it's easy to be removed when you didn't grow up here, but you have to remain calm. I've had to pinch myself in press boxes because you can't react. That was another hard thing to adjust to, is you can't have any reaction in the press box. And when you grow up watching these teams, it's tough.
You can laugh if something's funny.
Oh, you can laugh and you can gasp and you can react. You just can't cheer.
You just can't cheer.
Yeah.
Okay, you can gasp.
Oh, yeah, I gasp all the time.
We're like,
Here's the way I always put it.
what was that?
Get rid of the idea of objectivity.
Yeah.
Objectivity does not exist. There's no such thing as objectivity. Everybody brings their own biases and histories to everything. Just be professional, So cheering in the press box would be unprofessional. Gasping or enjoying the game or enjoying a great storyline developing, feel free.
You know, a lot of people think you can't separate yourself. Like, oh my gosh, is it going to be really hard when the Patriots can play the Vikings? I'm like, no, I don't know any person on the Patriots right now. And you know, I've known Harrison Smith since he was a rookie. You know, and not that I'm cheering for them, but it's like, so I don't have a bias towards the Patriots. Like, yeah, it's my hometown team. If I were not covering them, like if the Patriots were in the Super Bowl and the Vikings were not in the playoffs, of course, it's my hometown team. If my friends get tickets, I'm going to go and jump up and down. But when I'm working, it's really easy to separate myself. You know, so it's different. Even if I had to cover the BC Denver game, I would still razz you, but I wouldn't cheer for BC until after I got home on my off day. You know, like you really put like a different hat on.
That's exactly right. You just put blinders on while you're on the job, and you can also, you're allowed to root for good stories.
Yes.
And you're allowed to appreciate seeing good people succeed.
Yes.
I like that. Root for good stories.
Yeah.
Good stories and good individuals.
That's what I would say. Is like, you know, like if the Twins win the World Series, I'm not going to cheer in the press box. I'll be happy for everybody.
Right.
I'll be happy. I have a lot of friends who work in the Twins organization.
Exactly.
I like the players. I like the fact they're in downtown Minneapolis in a beautiful ballpark. It'd be a great story. I just wouldn't cheer in the press box. That's all.
And there was an athlete.
And I guess to add, just to finish that thought.
Yes.
You can't alter the way you cover something because you have a feeling about it.
No.
You know,
right? Because you like these people, you have to be.
You still
like,
have to be.
You still have to ask the hard questions.
Objective doesn't work. You have to be professional about the way you deal with that.
Right. It was kind of like when I had to ask Adrian Peterson about his fumbles in the NFC Championship game. Yeah. Like no one was asking at first, right? But it was the hardest locker room I've ever been in. But you have to ask those questions, right? It's right there. Like, and a pro athlete knows when they've done something. Right? They actually gain more respect for you if you ask it in a professional way. Not like, oh, Butterfingers. Like I would never have said it that way. But some people do now to get that reaction for social media. But sometimes you just have to ask that hard question. But one athlete asked me like, yeah, well, it's almost like you reporters, and this is how it was posed to me years ago, just want one of us to mess up because then it's a big news story. I go, no, see, this is where you're wrong. We sports people don't want you guys to have any drama. I don't want to cover that.
No.
Yeah.
I go, and that's when the news people come in. I go, when you start seeing faces that you haven't seen in the locker room before, that's when you know. I go, and none of us that cover you for sports want that to happen.
Right.
I go, I just want to talk about the game. I don't want to know I don't even want to know who you're married to. I don't want to know your personal life. I don't care about your personal life. I care about what you do on the field. If your personal life spills over into how you're playing on the field and then you make it my business, then I'm kind of, I got to cover this.
Is if you end up on a police report, I have no choice but to write about it. If you stay off the police reports, I don't care what you do.
Yeah. And I said 9 times out of 10, though, that's when our news reported. That's when if you were a news, hey, Elle, go cover that. I said, no, I wouldn't even be covering that. Like, oh, I go, no. Like, we're all like, oh, gosh, no, what happened? Like, we don't want that to happen. And the player was like, oh. I go, yeah, I want to cover the sport. I don't want to cover whatever you do outside.
And like to us, a good soundbite is like when you're just authentic and vulnerable and maybe emotional. A good soundbite isn't where you stumble and say something dumb. A good soundbite is where you just get all of us to feel and rally around you.
Yeah. As I said, that's when you remove that glossy, that,
Get past the cliches. That's
cliche.
our whole job.
Yeah,
is to
get past the cliches.
Yeah.
And they think like that's the perfect, like I gotta just be like, get my job done, be robotic and just say a cliche. And it's just like, ugh.
No, anything but a cliche.
Anything but, yeah.
So any lessons you've learned so far along the way?
Yeah, I mean, I think I got to be honest, I definitely had imposter syndrome when I started, and I still do. I mean, I still am like, what am I doing in this press box? But I've just started to remember I need to just not be afraid to introduce myself, make that first move, and ask the questions. Like, I know that people could judge me for not knowing certain things, but at the end of the day, I'd rather just ask the question and know going forward than
pretending that you know
and fake it, or
that's
make a
when you're the
mistake.
imposter. So you're not an imposter. I just want to tell you that right now. You've earned your way here. So there's sometimes Jim and I don't know. You have to.
Oh, God, yeah. That's why you ask questions. You're looking for information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I spent yesterday, like Sunday, I was at the Twins game, and I had like 8 conversations, and they were all off the record, just people kind of telling me what's going on without being quoted. Yet you want to get to a point where people trust you and you can have those conversations, but it takes time. And you have to have the initial conversation before you have those subsequent conversations where you actually might get something.
And sometimes it's a day where you're like running around doing a million things and you just make a mistake. Like now that
we do make mistakes.
Now that the Vikings, in training camp is like day one of training camp, and they're in whites and purples for offense and defense, right? But I was like looking for this new guy that had just signed, and I was like, and I just saw the back of the jersey, and I'm like, hey, blah blah blah, like he's in purple. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Sorry, offense defense, because there was two of the same number in purple. You just laugh it off. Like it's not like, oh, that dumb blonde doesn't know who I am. It's, oh yeah, welcome to day one, and that's, you just left that stuff off.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about connections in sports more so than I think news is, because I've realized, and I'm sure Jim, especially like being a beat reporter, like this more than ever, it's not about the conversations with the microphone. It's so many conversations that you're just having in the tunnel and passing by. And I remember specifically a moment where I was at Lynx Media Days, and I was in the tunnel where they were all taking their photos, and Fee walks right by me and just goes, hey. And I had all the opportunity in the world to have a conversation with her. No camera, no microphone. It was just the two of us. And I just go, hey.
But sometimes that's cool too, because they're not thinking every time they go by you want to have a conversation too.
Right.
But
I just kind of like face palmed. I was like, oh, that was such a good opportunity to introduce yourself, get to know her a little bit. So to make up for it, when she got signed for the Olympic team or committed to the Olympic team, I was like, I want a one-on-one with Fee. And I introduced her myself and had that time with her. She's from St. Louis. I worked in St. Louis, so we had that bond.
I went to high school in St. Louis, by the way.
You did? What high school?
Vianney.
Oh my gosh.
I visited St. Louis.
No way.
There you go.
I lived in U City, right by the high school that Nellie went to. That was...
Yeah, St. Louis is all about the high school, right? What high school you went to?
All about the high school.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So, so we bonded over gooey butter cake, Fee and I. It's
My
so
favorite
delicious.
health
Have you
food.
had it before?
I don't even know what that is, no.
No,
Well, the name speaks for itself.
Okay.
gooey butter cake and toasted ravioli are the big.
I've
St.
had
Louis
the toasted
things.
ravioli.
Yes.
So
An old
yummy.
friend of mine was from there, so I've had that, but the gooey butter cake.
It's just pure butter. It's just a soft kind of... It looks like a vanilla brownie.
Yes.
And you bite into it, and it's just buttery sweetness. It's so good.
Okay, it's good. Only because if anything has butter in the title, I don't know, like when I lived in Wisconsin, like you have to have a butter burger. I'm like, oh, I don't really eat burgers. And that sounds oh no, it's fantastic. No, it was gross. The butter burger. I'm sorry from anyone from Wisconsin. So I'm trying to make that leap for
Okay.
the butter sugar. What is it called?
Gooey butter cake.
Gooey butter cake.
And it's one of those things
Is it
where it's
vanilla?
like if you like... It's vanilla based, and if you like
Butter based.
it's butter based. If you like a cookie that never gets hard, like that always kind of has that softness to it, it's like that. But so not a Sweet Martha's cookie.
Oh,
Don't come
okay.
at me. But those things become rock hard in 5 hours.
I'm one of the weirdos. I don't like any gooey chocolatey anything.
Oh, so the
I don't like-
texture of gooey is a no.
Yeah, I'm not I like chocolate cake or chocolate flavored like ice cream, that kind of thing. But chocolate itself, no.
Oh,
I'll have a little bit every once in a while if I'm having like a glass of red wine, like a dark chocolate, but it's got to have like a raspberry in it or a blueberry. It can't just be dark chocolate.
interesting.
Like it's got to have like a little like thread of like a fruit in there. No, milk chocolate. Also, no, I'm like the rare person.
So then, what is your
I don't
go-to
like
sweet?
chocolate or red roses. So Valentine's Day for my exes was really hard.
What's your go-to sweet then?
Oh, I don't really have I'm more salty
Okay.
than sweet, but I do like a blueberry or an apple pie.
Ooh, I love apple pie.
So if
Apple
it has
pie's my
fruit in
favorite,
it,
yeah.
and if it's candy, like I don't like the chocolate bars. I like more like the dots and the
Swedish fish.
Swedish fish.
Love Swedish fish.
That's kind of my jam. But if you ask me, like I'm like, yeah, I'll take like my go-to. I want to ask you this: your road trip food. and they're so bad for you, it's just chemicals and carbs, are combos. The pizza pretzel combos. Right, it rips the heck out of the front of your, like that pizza little hangy thing. Like it rips the top of your mouth open. But that's what I kind of like.
You're my first friend that eats that. I've never met anyone that buys combos at a gas station.
Yes.
You're keeping them in business, Dawn.
I am. And it used to be until I looked at it. First of all, I was like, why is my heart racing? And there's like 42 carbs in a small, I used to do the Red Bull, the sugar-free Red Bull. And combos. That was if I'm going on a long trip. And I was like, no, I don't do any of the Red Bull. I'm like, no. But yeah, the combo. So that's my go-to.
Okay, so usually my go-to is I'm thinking like I actually need something with slight sustenance.
Well, so now that's mature. No, I mean like what's your...
Okay, because I'm like beef jerky is...
Yeah, beef jerky, bananas. That's what I get now. But
okay.
I try to step away from the combos.
I mean, I love Swedish Fish. I love...
You're a Sour Patch Kid?
So I am, but I only like reds and blues. Like, I don't want the lemon lime flavors. So to me, it's a waste of money because I'm only eating half the bag.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I would rather do Swedish Fish where it's all cherry. Yeah. But I do love Sour Patch. Sour Patch watermelon, I'll eat the whole thing.
Never had. I'm not a big Sour Patch person, so I've never had the watermelon.
This conversation.
we took a left turn. That's okay. This is what this podcast does.
It. I also love a lollipop, like a Tootsie Pop.
You do?
Yeah, I love the Tootsie Pops.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then you can savor it. They last a long time.
I like until you get to the Tootsie part.
Oh, I love Tootsie Rolls.
And then I'm like, gah. So let me ask you something about the business too. Now that we're talking about sweet and salty and sour. Have you learned anything about being a woman in sports? Like, have you hit any, and I don't mean like roadblocks or anything like that, but something like, oh, this is something I haven't encountered before as a female in news reporting.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's definitely something that is discussed and just more omnipresent in my daily work life now that I've literally never thought about once in 11 years in news. Like, not once have I ever thought, I'm the only woman in the room, or like, I hope this man takes me seriously. I've never once thought that ever in news. And now that I'm in sports, the entire last year, it's just a constant thought that's going through my mind. And I don't know if that's society or just the fact that we're having this kind of beautiful growth of women's sports and more women joining sports reporting. But for better or worse, it's constantly on my mind. However, I've realized how much, I mean, I've always been a girl's girl, but at the same time, I'm leaning on women more than I ever have. And, you know, all the women in my newsroom that are sports fans, whether they're on news or on the news side of things or not, like Tracy Perlman, I lean on a lot. And Julia Daniels, Nadine Babu, Andrea Yock, like all the women in this circle of sports, I've leaned on so much, and it's great to have that support system. So for me, like, kind of going back to what I said earlier, like, one thing I've learned is never be afraid to ask questions. And if you're going to ask it, go to them, like, go to your sisters in this and lean on them as you navigate this new world. But I've also, and maybe this is just me, but whenever I'm interviewing, or I guess whenever I'm thinking about what I'm going to pitch or a story I'm going to pursue, I am gravitating more towards women's sports. I just feel more comfortable in that room, maybe because I once played some of those sports. Like, I played basketball, I played soccer, I was a competitive dancer, as you know, I played lacrosse. So those are, like, I feel more comfortable talking to female athletes because I know what they're going through emotionally and physically. Whereas with the guys, sometimes I do start sensing myself get a little imposter syndrome because I'm like, I didn't play football, so I just don't know what they're going through. So that's when I start to catch myself maybe I don't trust myself as much in those situations. But year 2 of sports, I'm letting that go, and I'm trusting myself a lot more.
Yeah, because you don't have to have played the sport. And I know Jim knows this, but years when I was in Green Bay, there's an offensive lineman. He's a great dude, but it was after a game, and I just asked, and it wasn't a gotcha question. It was like just a basic, almost something about the coverage and like. He was an offensive lineman, and Brett Favre got sacked, right? So, and it was a crucial sack, and he fumbled the ball, that kind of thing. And so I asked him about it, and he looked at me, and I asked him nicely. I said, talk about the coverage there on this play. You ever play professional football? And I said, not since my sex changed, no. Right? And I was like, I can't believe I just said that. Like, that's something I would say to my brothers, right? Because I have 4 brothers, no sisters. Like what? And because he said kind of, and I didn't say it mean, but I said exactly like that. And he just started laughing. And he goes, I am so sorry. And he kind of said a swear, I'm such a blank. And I'm like, no, it's okay. He goes, you want to ask the question again? So I asked the question again, and he answered it, right? So just because you didn't play doesn't mean you don't know the sport and you don't know what happened, and you can't ask him about it. And so he just laughed. He goes, wow, that line. And he goes, you're brothers, don't you? I go, yeah. So you can't be intimidated by that, right? Because they would say that to a guy, too, because all the men in the room have never played professional football either. But I know a botched play when I see one that leads to a quarterback getting sacked and fumbling the ball, and they scoop it up and they bring it back to win the game on a touchdown. You have to ask that question. You'll learn that that's not imposter syndrome, right? That you know the game and you have to ask about that. Because if you were sitting at home watching that, you're like, what happened on that play?
Right, exactly.
Now you'd have to go to what happened on that dumb play? Like, that's not how I asked it. I said, can you take us through what happened on that play? Which is a legit question that people wanted to know. Like, it was broken coverage, but what we see in a broken coverage may not be what was called. It might have been someone else's responsibility. You were covering your block, but someone else was supposed to get that. So it's a legit, and he knew it was. But just like when you played sports and competitive dancing, these people have just been in battle, and it's emotional. So I didn't take it personally, unless he said to Dawn, you're a this, and I don't like you. I'm not answering that question. But just getting that emotion out, like I didn't turn and be like, ooh, he's mean to me. I was just like, no, what kind of maybe now I would think twice about answering that way, but I probably wouldn't. But I also know if I were a pro athlete and someone asked me that question in a jerky way, I would be mean to them. But I also might still be emotional after I lost that game if I was the one that caused that mistake. That makes sense.
For sure.
But you'll learn that you're not an imposter for asking that question just because you didn't play.
Right. And I got to work on, wow, this is becoming a therapy session. I got to work on not taking things personally. I haven't had, thankfully yet, a bad reaction to a question I've asked from an athlete. But if I were in your shoes in that role, like, I think I would have taken it personally, and I would have maybe shrunken in a little bit. So I don't know if it was being raised with brothers or being from Boston, but either way, that comeback was amazing.
Well, it's funny too, because people like from Boston, like I was raised on the South Shore, and like I can throw a seashell at you or a Toll House cookie. Those are the 2 towns I was raised in. Like I wasn't raised in the streets in the city of Boston. But yeah, I mean, we did have one-liners, right? And if my brother said that to me, will you play? I'm like, yeah, since my sex change, it's something I totally would have said to my brothers.
Right.
Like, come on. Like, yeah, Don is my name, Well, according to Starbucks, it is my name. Every single time I order a coffee.
And mine's just the letter L.
Yours Jim, when you go and you order your coffee at Starbucks, I know you just drink it black, right?
Yes,
Straight fuel. Have they ever messed up, Jim? Have they ever spelled it GYM?
No, but we could spend an hour talking about the different ways my last name has been pronounced and spelled. And the number of people who have asked me if it's Chinese or Serbian or my name has been butchered.
What's the worst butchering of your name have you ever had?
God. Well, okay. Here's the one. And this is going to date me, but we already know I'm old, so I don't mind being dated. Remember there's an assassin named Souhan?
Yes.
Kids used to call me Souhan.
I'm sorry.
Oh, Dawn's laughing. Dawn thinks assassinations are funny.
No, I'm just looking
Pull
at your
quote.
face going, I don't know how. That's funny. Sorry. That's the worst, especially back in that day.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like, do not associate me with that.
Say that again.
You're
Without laughing.
I'm like, that's horrible. Sorry. Sometimes horrible things make me laugh. I'm the one that laughs in
Apparently,
church.
You should work in news.
Well, so people always butcher my first name, and the best was we were at the burger bar at Lord Fletcher's. Remember the outdoor burger bar? It's awesome if you haven't been. So there's this young woman. She must have been like high school, maybe college, and they used to write. I don't know if they still do, but write your name on the plate, because they're kind of going down the line. And she goes, "What's your name?" I said, "Dawn." And she's like, "How do you spell?" Oh, I got it. I'm like, okay. I just figured. I'm thinking D-O-N would be, right? Maybe she's giving me D-A-H-N, Dawn. And I, like, from the Autobahn. And I was like, did I say my name weird to my friends? They're like, no.
That is a Boston
Dawn.
spelling.
D-A-H-N, Dawn. Yeah, Dawn. Dawn and Dawn back east, like the men, and it's pronounced the exact same way.
Yes.
Here it's different. But so that's probably the
It's
most.
different here?
Yeah, it's Don and Dawn here. Don, it's a little more, right?
Minnesota accent.
Right? Isn't that-
Don?
Don?
Get the big.
Big.
Do you guys think I have a Minnesota accent? I feel like I don't.
I don't think you do.
No, I haven't heard it.
No. I think living in Denver and St. Louis, which are super neutral,
Yes.
it got rid of it.
Yeah.
And I was scared straight because my dad was from Brooklyn, my mom was from Jersey, and I was raised in Massachusetts.
Oh my God.
People are like, you don't really have a Boston accent. And I said, I was scared straight. That's aging us too. Yeah, Scared Straight. Did you ever know that show?
No.
Okay. As they would send kids to hang out in prison so they would like straighten up.
Yep.
They were scared straight. That's my accent, scared straight. But I've also lived San Diego, Milwaukee, Chicago. I do say hilarious, different. I used to say hilarious. Very like Larry King, hilarious. And so my family, they've noticed like, what'd you say? I go hilarious. Like, okay.
Well, I lived in Baltimore for
changed.
a while, so I say, my wife always tells me I say water as if it's wooder.
Warder?
Wooder.
Warder.
I'm not sure. She's probably just picking on me, but that is.
Yeah. I do. The only thing I think I've always said aunt, but people here say aunt. But I have to learn in the Midwest to, and I've lived here a long time, so it's worked to slow down my speech. Because sometimes I can talk really fast and, we'd always have to say, I'm all finished, may please leave the table. That when we had to leave the table, it was like, I was at the table. Like, what did you just say? I'm finished at the table? Like, well, I have no idea. So I had to, especially in journalism and especially in the Midwest, because people are like, what was that? I'm like, I better slow my roll.
Well, if you go to the South, you have to really slow your roll.
Slow my roll.
Oh my gosh. When I lived in Little Rock, so many occasions I would go to my news director. I'd be like, does this story need subtitles? And they're like, Elle, you might not be able to understand it, but our viewers can. Like, okay, great.
Well, I went home. This was years ago. I'd been away in the Midwest for so long, and I went back for my brother's wedding. Now, my college roommate is from Nebraska. And so two different things. Before it was a big deal, the car keys, you see it on social media with the cat keys, right? Well, that happened with me and my sister-in-law. She had changed. We were going to like another place after the wedding. It was a day wedding. And I had chinos on, and she had jeans. And she some people are talking, they're just staring and looking at your legs, or looking elsewhere, but while they're thinking. And so I thought she was looking at my pants, and she goes, oh, I got to get my khakis. And I go, you look fine. You don't have to change. Let's go. She goes, what? I go, you don't have to change. You look fine. Let's go. She goes, what are you talking about? And I said, your pants. You look great. You don't have to change. She goes, oh my God, you don't even understand me anymore. Doug, your sister doesn't even understand me anymore. And she got her khakis, right? Car keys. And I was like, oh my God, I really thought you wanted to change into khakis. And she's like, you've been away too long. She kind of, that came out New Yorkish, but she's definitely. So then my college roommate, her mother-in-law, she's from Nebraska, but all the family's from Boston, bought this house in Winchester, Massachusetts. And they used to live in Woburn. If you guys know, you know. So I was trying to find the house. And this was before the GPS could just be like Waze on your phone. But I had a cell phone, and I'm calling him like, Heidi, I can't find that street where the new house is. And she's like, well, what do you mean? I said, your mother-in-law said at Facana's, take a left. So I'm looking for that Italian restaurant, or it's a bakery on Facana's. And she's like, let Nebraska translate your people for you. At Four Corners, take a left. That's like, so that's the big joke. My family's like, when are you opening a restaurant called Facana's? At Facana's, take a left. You can't miss it. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't understand my own people anymore.
Wow, you've been away for too long. I think you're Minnesotan now,
I
Dawn.
think I've been adopted. At least I can understand you all. For cute.
Oh, for sure.
Well, Elle, thank you so much for coming on, but I did want to leave you with this question. If you could do anything in terms of sports broadcasting, would it be going to the Olympics? Well, like, what is your big event? Like, Jim, I'm jealous because I have never covered an Olympics on an Olympic site. But people have that. Like, I've luckily have covered, I think, 5 now Super Bowls. What is your dream coverage that, like, you have on your personal checklist that you would love to do?
Okay, so of course I would love to be at a Super Bowl. Like, that is for sure up there, number 2. But number 1, this is kind of nerdy, but my dream coverage is I would love to be like the first, I'm guessing it's the first, but the first reporter to give like full coverage of the college dance team national finals.
Minnesota was amazing.
Minnesota was so incredible.
That had me on. Ooh.
And like, they always place, whether they're first or second or third. And the best part is now all the Minnesota college dance teams are rising up to U of M's level, and they're walking away with first places in their divisions as well. St. Thomas, St. Ben's, Mankato State, like, they're all crushing it right now. And so I would love to go there as a Minnesota sports reporter and just give like full, extensive, comprehensive dance coverage from ESPN World of Sports College National Dance Championships.
Sell it. Go do it.
I think it'd have a lot of viewership because this is such a dance state, and it's starting to get the respect it deserves, but it hasn't for so long. And yeah, I just want to be part of the changing of the tides.
And I agree with you. I know that you're a former dancer. I'm a former dancer. I miss that when dance
like
teams.
Dennis.
You dance so well, though. He does the bump and the hustle.
I do? No.
But I miss that there weren't really dance teams, at least in Massachusetts when I were going. There was cheerleaders, but there weren't dance teams until after I was in college. Like, it just started when I was in college, so. I was in college in the 1800s. We had a covered wagon.
You can't make old jokes when you're doing a show with me. I get all the old jokes. That's the rule, because
You know how to waltz,
factual.
though, right?
I invented the waltz.
Oh, and the polka.
All those other crazy dances were too fast for me.
But I am starting to feel old in the sense of the lacrosse world, because I went to interview some Benilde players this spring, and they were like, I said, I used to play for Benilde lacrosse. And I said, my first year on the team was the first year it was a sanctioned sport, and there was a state tournament. And their faces were like, whoa, my God.
See, that is one lesson you have learned. Never give it away. Never give it away. Like, I see some of my friends whose kids are now in sports. I'm like, you do not know me. You are just meeting me for the first time. Do not call me Anton. Right? Yes. Jim's smiling.
I am. Hey, I just want to thank you, Elle. Thanks for coming in. It was a great conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
We'll have
you.
you back at some point whenever you've recovered from this one. Any final thought you want to share about anything in the world?
Oh, man.
I know, I'm putting you on the spot.
Wow.
That's a
While I put you on the
huge-
spot, I'll give you a second to think.
That's like a statement. Like,
Well, you can just say that Dawn Mitchell's your idol. It doesn't have to be anything too serious, you know. But hey, thanks to everyone who listens. We do appreciate it. Again, subscribe to any show you like. Thanks to Aquarius Home Services. Thanks to Rudy Luther Toyota. Thanks to Alex Haugen. I am getting it right? Good. We're getting to know Alex. I don't want to screw up his name. So, Elle, now, anything you want to say?
my statement is dance is a sport. Don't get it twisted. And women in sports, whether you're on the field or behind the microphone or in front of the camera, keep crushing it. Keep keeping on. And I'm dwindling now, but just, I don't know, let's keep leaning on each other. The sisterhood is strong, and let's keep it growing. And Dawn, thank you for leading the charge here in Minnesota. Like, truly, like, you're paving paths for women in sports here, and I appreciate it, and I'm glad to be walking on it behind you.
Me and my covered wagon. Got the cement truck. I got spinning cement coming out of the covered wagon. Thank you.
Thank you, Elle.
Thank you, Elle.
Appreciate
You're
it.
awesome.
Thanks as always to Dawn. Thanks to Alex. Thanks to everyone who listens. We'll talk to you soon.